But why do you say
It is being used in a context very directly to say, I hate Jews, and that's almost an online code word, saying Jews are horrible, good, like they're attacking Jews and they end with Christ is King.
anything?
Hi, everybody. Okay, let's see. It is so late, I know. Um, and I want to talk about Ted Cruz. So let's get started here. Day 2052 since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Right there on the border, where the El Paso Mormon faction cartel are up to no good in alliance with the Mexican cartels like the Juarez cartel and the La Linea branch of that cartel. Um, and they'll do anything to protect this criminal trafficking. They're the protection racket for the Jeffrey Epstein criminal trafficking racket. And of course, uh, they just moved over when he got arrested and Zorro Ranch was shut down. They just shifted over to Fort Bliss, and so yeah, the emergency intake center. But before that happened, Richard was absolutely reporting on all of the criminal trafficking and um, the ties, the infiltration into uh, the military that were connected to the Walmart mass shooting. And it's expanding with our investigation. But he absolutely was so concerned because he told us, he feared for his life, and it was so bad. It was so bad. The infiltration was so bad. So, and we know that this has everything to do with his first sergeant, Michael Ruggiero, and his first sergeant's wife, Hema uh, Cuellar, Hema Cuellar Ruggiero. Just real, really interesting stuff. And yeah, and there is some real connections there, y'all. Some real connections. But I really want to talk about Ted Cruz because, all of this is connected. And what Ted Cruz just came out and did is a psyop. It is a psychological operation. It is asymmetric warfare. It is a really nonsense, absolutely nonsense. Christians have been saying Christ is king for a long time, a long time. Could I say thousands of years. And there has never been a problem when it comes to Christians, and you can just look at our country. You can look at our country, and it is absolutely nonsense what Ted Cruz just said, Senator. He's lying, Ted. Lying, Ted. President Trump, it was absolutely right on target when he dubbed Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, lying Ted. And it, there's no words to express how damaging what he just did, what he just said. is to, it's always divide, 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 divide with these really up to no good individuals that are absolutely defending criminal trafficking. And Senator Ted Cruz, he's either totally complicit in it or he is protecting it, the criminal trafficking, and those at the border that are the uh, the philanthropists that are the part of the El Paso Mormon faction cartel in alliance with the Juarez cartel, with the Mexican cartels, and the Juarez cartel, of course, the very violent armed military of the Juarez cartel is La Linea. And La Linea, their home base, right, is Nova Casa Grandes. I've been talking about Nova Casa Grandes for a long time. That is the Mormon colony hub, right? Because Colonial Dublin, Colonial Juarez. When you look at the map, it's all there. Let's see if I can put the map up and show that with you. And Ted Cruz knows all this because he knows Romney. He knows Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney's, I think it was Mitt Romney's grandfather or his great grandfather that had 6 wives. Okay, 6 wives. The Romneys, lots of kids, lots of offspring. I think out of all of the colonists there, I think the Romneys have the most. I think they do. I don't know, but I think they do. They're right up there at the top. And with the Wittens, the Romneys and the Wittens, Colin Wenton, of course, they have dual citizen, right? They have dual citizen, and of course, Senator of Texas Ted Cruz knows the main um, special agent at the El Paso FBI office. Of course, he knows who he is, right? Of course. So he knows the Romneys, he knows the Wittens. They are uh, major families from the colonies in Chihuahua, and dual citizen, yeah, a lot of them are dual citizens. And the La Linea arm of the Juarez cartel are from that area. And um, when you are expanding your family at the rate that those colonists did, they intertwine with the area and everything. And um, this La Linea absolutely shares a bloodline with these Mormon colonists. And there is just no doubt, and that they are fully armed to the teeth. And it is admitted that they would steal those arms. They didn't buy them. They absolutely use taxpayers' money, be it Mexican taxpayers or be it American taxpayers or others. They use their money to fund their operation. And so it is already on record that the weapons and all the supplies that arm them to the teeth were stolen, were stolen, and through the tunnels connection. So let's see if I have that. It's just been so much stuff going on. I do have it right here, and you see it on the map right here. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this right here are the intentional leaked photos of La Linea, and you can find them online pretty easily. Just put in there intentionally leaked photos of La Linea, and they have loads of them, and you can go through them. I put a few up here. Ones that showed gear, the weapons, um, yeah, most of their faces are all covered, but so but this is where the colonies are here in Mexico. Okay, here is El Paso, Fort Bliss, right there. Here's Fort Huachuca, and yeah, just a direct line into New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona. You can just easily go. And I think that's very helpful for people, how strategic this is. And when, La Linea, the thing that people need to know about La Linea is they are the ones that have the dual citizen, the access to the United States without any problems, right? And so they can cross that border at will, cross it at will, and they cause a lot of trouble because um, they are the ones that take life. That's who they are. And run the tunnels. And of course, they are in alliance with the CJNG and, of course, with the El Paso Mormon faction cartel. Okay, that just so there's a lot of La Linea into Arizona, Fort Huachuca. Of course, there's tunnels there, and of course, the Fort Bliss area. Absolutely. And so, what does this mean that La Linea is, now is um, on the board where they are being raided, they are being arrested. We've had President Trump really go after Sinaloa, really turn off their spigots, arrest their leaders, extradite their leaders, El Mayo, and he makes deals with them, and they sing because he's um, when you have like the likes of Maduro with all of this fuel theft, and then you have Peru with, on the border with Colombia and using Ecuador to bring in all the drugs, right? To bring in all the drugs. And that goes on to ships that go to Jalisco. And Jalisco got really powerful then. That's how El Mencho got really, really powerful. It was a strategic location, just like Zorro Ranch. Very, very good real estate, as President Trump would say, because it was right there on the north call up of White Sands Missile Range. White Sands Missile Range has restricted and protected monitored airspace. That's all with taxpayer funds. That protected, restricted, monitored airspace. And who monitors it? Who protects it? Well, it is G3 of 32nd ADCOM, right? It is Fort Huachuca Signal, and they had a person there in Bradford Bugado in the G3 32nd ADCOM, and they which was Richard's command, and then you have a person there at Fort Huachuca. You have Jeffrey Epstein's pilot's daughter that was in the military, an officer in the military with top secret clearance, right there with Lori Abbas, Francevy, and of course our casualty affairs officer, asymmetric warfare officer, that was published in Military Deception Methods, and his name is Joshua Lyons. Joshua Lyons. Lyons is another name, y'all. Another name. You cannot make this stuff up because, it all fits together, and identification is so important. And that's why they use multiple names, or they change their names like Lalani has. She's changed her name because she wants to avoid being identified, right? Avoid being scrutinized. And because she needs to be arrested. She needs to be arrested. So I think identity is very, very important. Keeping, uh, very close track of records is really important because the records get manipulated and tampered with, And I believe that this the El Paso Mormon faction cartel is not just uh, coming from the colonies. When you look at the whole history and what's going on, some, maybe the more honest ones, left the United States when polygamy uh, became illegal and they went to Mexico. But um, who believes that everybody was that honest, right? There were many that just stayed in the United States and thwarted the law, tampered with the documents, had multiple wives, and just manipulated the records. And that's why you see, I believe, when you're doing this kind of investigation in this group, this Mormon faction cartel, you will see a lot of that on the U.S. side where they have Delia Briones's, in the county clerk's office. And that they manipulate, and we have proof that they've constantly manipulated and even had to fabricate death certificates, marriage certificates, birth certificates. And that should be a real, real crime, y'all, because there's no justice when there is no trust in timestamps, no trust in death certificates, no trust in um, birth certificates, no trust in, and those that would never even think about manipulating records like that, um, we just trust that other people think that way, but they don't. These are very, very dishonest people, and they're impersonators, and they are fraudsters and con artists, and they absolutely are engaged in tampering with these records. Let me adjust my thing a little bit. Yeah. They are absolutely um, engaged in tampering with records and evidence and evidence and then elections. If they tamper with records, if they tamper with investigations, evidence, and intimidate witnesses and whistleblowers, then they don't think twice about tampering and interfering with elections. And this is a big part of this case because the Walmart mass shooting absolutely was used to tamper and interfere with the election. And now we have um, Montoya, the fake DA. He's not installed properly. He's an imposter. He just kind of took over that office with no um, legal right to do so. And, Mr. 2028 stamp, and we have caught him. They don't want to sign the anti-bribe line because then they have to swear and sign their name that they did not take a bribe, right? That they did not take a bribe to get to that office. So, um, he is absolutely an imposter DA, and yet he fires Alex Cuellar. Cuellar, there's that name again, just like Gemma Cuellar Ruggiero. Um, but he fires Alex Cuellar. I mean, what chances are there that Gemma Cuellar Ruggiero, the wife of Richard's first sergeant, would have a connection to the El Paso ISD trustee, or because that's what he is, and also the ADA. So that's the assistant district attorney there in El Paso, Alex Cuellar, running to be, yeah, 171st, right? What are the chances, And here there is election tampering, right? On the very day, right before the election was even done, he gets fired. He gets fired by Montoya, where Montoya had days and days to do it, right? But because Alex Cuellar complained about Montoya for engaging in unlawful conduct, and you can't. Montoya doesn't want anyone to know about his 2028 stamp. Montoya doesn't want anyone to know about his name, Bonneau, that his name is James Bonneau Montoya, that he chose Montoya for the vote. He wanted the Mexican vote, so he got the name Montoya made legal. You know, and then he didn't even use it legally. He didn't even use it legally. So yeah, so this is the situation that happens when you have a cartel infiltration into our country, into our system. You have situations like this in the DA's office. Of course, we know that every judge on the El Paso Magistrate Court is also illegal. So you have that because they're supposed to be elected. They're not elected. Not one of them. Not one of them has been elected. Why haven't they been elected? Because that's required by the Texas Constitution. If you are a court that has full countywide jurisdiction, the last time I looked, they have full countywide jurisdiction. Why aren't those judges being elected? So every one of those are in violation of the Texas Constitution, and they are imposters. Imposters. They are not legally sitting on the bench with their robes. They are just absolutely frauds. Um, so uh, that is, and then of course a medical examiner also, and you have election tampering going on with Montoya, which we knew when he was up there in Oklahoma. I think he was in Oklahoma or Kansas. What was it? He was when he got kicked out, when he didn't win the first time, and he was acting illegally, interfering in the election and the politics, and in El Paso. Even when he was out of state, he was very concerned with the borderland, because a lot of criminal trafficking going on there, and yeah, so that is really important for everyone to know. Here's Ted Cruz. Here's Ted Cruz with Judge Roger Rodriguez. You might ask, who is Judge Roger Rodriguez? Judge Roger Rodriguez called us um, to let us know that he had filed a whistleblower complaint in our son's investigation, that he named names on who prime suspect on who hurt Richard. That's the best way I can say that. And also, so he named names on the prime suspects, and he also um, filed that there was tampering of Richard's files, that they were tampering with the investigation. And of course, one of the names he named, the names he named are Tavita Nusa, the CID agent. So he had access to tamper with and leak Richard's investigative files. And, so that's who Judge Rodriguez is, a total hero. And he did the right thing and filed to report the tampering and the vile and vulgar, violent activity that surrounds what happened to our son. And he told us that he filed it with multiple agencies, including Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, and including um, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. And so you can read a lot about that on our site. And um, So Ted Cruz had all that information in front of him by a sitting judge in his capacity, because he also told us, and this is years ago, that when he filed it January 18th, 2022, um, that that Ted Cruz had that information that early on and didn't do anything with it. We wouldn't even know. We wouldn't even know if that was filed until if if the judge hadn't picked up the phone and called us to let us know that he had filed it. Um, it's just unspeakable when you think about it, and pretty emotional um, when you think of Senator Ted Cruz now saying that he doesn't want, his concern is that online I can't say Christ is King. That's his concern. When you think about what happened to Richard, that's his concern. That he will talk about, but he won't say Richard Halliday's name. And yeah, so it's pretty despicable. In October of 2022, um, Judge Roger Rodriguez confronted Cruz, Senator Cruz, in a personal meeting, asking him, "Why haven't you done anything about the Richard Halliday case?" So Cruz wanted to protect Jeffrey Epstein and the John of God pipeline, the child trafficking, the human flesh consumption, the human flesh peddling, the illegal C-sections, the organ harvesting, the 500,000 through the emergency intake, child trafficking, all the drugs. He is really, when you think about it and what he had in his hands and what he knew about Richard, and that he didn't tell us. There's so many that have committed the big T, right? The big T. It's just such a betrayal. And, I think it's, you can say, oh, he needs to be arrested. I think he needs to face the death penalty. I think Ted Cruz needs to face the death penalty for what he has done. Because Richard was a whistleblower, a U.S. Army soldier that was trafficked, stolen off of Fort Bliss, trafficked to Mexico to be, all evidence indicates that his organs were harvested and that the rest of him was dumped at the Plenitude Crematorium. Because the owners of the Plenitude Crematorium, have the ins with Beto O'Rourke. With La Diabla has the ins with Beto O'Rourke. And let me tell you, Ted Cruz knows exactly who Beto O'Rourke is, and that was his opponent. He almost lost to him, and guess what? He was protecting him. Over and above a U.S. Army soldier, whistleblower. The likes of Beto O'Rourke, he was protecting and is protecting. So, he absolutely knows about William Sanders, Beto O'Rourke's father-in-law, that not only is Zorro Ranch bordering the north call-up of White Sands Missile Range, but then Sanders Ranch borders Zorro Ranch, just miles away from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And his connections, of course, he's from Chicago. His connections are with the Obamas, with Oprah, with the Pritzkers. Yeah, Ted Cruz. I think I'm going to say Christ is King. Christ is King online. I mean, I've said it over and over again. And there is no, my goodness, Richard and our family, we, before he joined the military, right before he joined the military, and I've posted up these pictures, we went to Israel. We went to Israel. And I'm going to tell you this. uh, there is no Israel without the Christians. And why can I say that? Because the Christians come there in droves to visit the holy sites. And they bring the economy to Israel. It's the Christians. They're the ones that come and they spend loads of money. They go to the Sea of Galilee, take a boat ride, sing song, play for meals. They go to um, Joseph of Arimathea, uh, the grave, the tomb garden where the grave is. They go to Golgotha. They go to the Mount of Olives. They go to Haifa. They go to Tel Aviv. They go all around Jerusalem. They go into the Palestinian territories up to Masada, where they have a Swiss gondola to take you up to Masada. They go into the Salt Sea there. A lot of people. I'm trying to think of everything. We went to the tomb of King David. All the different things that we did, and Christians everywhere, magnificent Christians. When we were in the tomb garden, it was just absolutely the place of one choir after the other singing the same hymns but in different languages. Oh, we went to the Jordan River. I got to go into the Jordan River. Little fish come around. You can swim in the Jordan River. I witnessed people being baptized in the Jordan River. Great memories there. And Richard was with us. He did everything with us. There was not a hard feeling. Every Jew that we met, I could say, Christ is King, and they'd be like, Amen, Amen. There was no hard feeling because we were there on good terms, and they respected our faith as we respect theirs. And so to say it online, to put this divide up again, he's just an evil senator. He's so evil. And he's with the flesh eaters. He's with the human flesh eaters. How can he? I don't even think he's for the Jews or the Israelites. I don't think he's for anyone but these traffickers, these cartel traffickers. It's for the power and the money. And he's just pulling a psyop because anybody that would say something like that, uh, is just has evil intentions. Evil intentions. And yes, there are some people that are very mad at Bibi Netanyahu, which let me tell you, these rumors about him not being alive, wow, they're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And we need some answers. Maybe, in the last few hours or whatever, some answers came out. But the last time I looked, he didn't show up at places he's supposed to show up at. So something is going on. Something is going on. We've heard that his brother lost his life or was severely injured, or other people that are around him. We need some answers. It's, yeah. And we know that Jeffrey Epstein is the one that got Bibi Netanyahu got him his position, and that he's up to no good. But that doesn't mean that I'm against Jews. I'm against these corrupt people that want to traffic, that infiltrate all of our faiths, all of our communities, our countries, don't respect the sovereignty of our countries. This El Paso Mormon faction, they don't respect the Mexico, they don't respect the United States. They only respect their power, their money, their greed. Because let me tell you, they're connected to now with Uvalde, with the Walmart mass shooting. I mean, what Candace Owens was doing, connecting the dots from these mass shootings, was very important. I wish she'd go back to that because that was very, very important. And there is something to that. These crisis actors, this orchestration of mass shootings for political maneuvering, or to get policies, or even to get money, to get some kind of bond passed or whatever. And that's very connected to the Walmart. All of those things are connected to the Walmart mass shooting. And we know that the crime scene was staged. We know that the whole thing is connected to Fort Bliss, and the Mayellas, Allen, Texas, the same spot where Dan Flood and Brian Harple are from, that connect then to Erica Kirk's security. Well, Charlie Kirk's security. Now it's Erica Kirk's security. So, and John of God, don't forget, Patrick Crucius's father was training under the disciples of John of God, and putting garbage online too, doing some psyop with targeting very young adults. And of course, we know that they were doing that in the barracks, targeting young adults. So clearly what what Ted Cruz, lying Ted, did was show his true nature, that he has that same evil spirit, demonic spirit, as the La Diabla. Yeah, and uh gosh, almost, there's so much that happened today because yesterday Cesar Duarte's one of them, he has a lot, but his main mansion there in Parral, and Parral is beautiful, beautiful area of Mexico, was raided, big time raided, not just a little raided, and um seized. And of course, he is Cesar Duarte, married to a Thong, and that name is very connected to the Dreams Cabaret, where Leilani Hart, Richard's platoon leader's mother and father, because he was registering his vehicle there, she was registering her vehicle there and also getting her mail there. And of course, we know they are very connected to the Ruggierios. And Hema Cuellar Ruggiero, she's into the massage side of things. Okay. That's what she's into. And more. And more. Because it's that Cuellar name. And that's why that explains the vile and vulgar, constant targeting of our family, of our son, how criminal they are. The unwillingness for Ruggiero, being the first sergeant for Richard, never to meet us. You can tell how the military was so complicit, so infiltrated. It's amazing, this scorecard of President Trump, what he's doing under the conditions that he has to um, get accountability. It's very systematic what he's doing with the fuel, with the cutting off, um, all these leaders, making plea deals with them to get them to sing, Remember, he gave a pardon to the Cuban, no, uh, the Puerto Rican leader that was so mean to him. It was that, I'm like, wow, she must have been really singing for him to give her a pardon. But yeah, so he is very strategic, and of course with El Mayo and El Chapo, and well, El Mencho didn't get a chance to sing, but Madeira, none of them want to uh, not make a deal. And Cesar Duarte is in a prison that is so tight, y'all. His family can't even visit him. And his house, and let me go into that because this is really amazing news that you don't get to hear anywhere. So his house was raided years ago, and he got it back because he said, that's not my house. That is in my children's name. That's in my family's name. And so they were like, oh gosh, they were, in this legal uh, situation. And he got the house back, and it's in his children's name. Well, now it was raided and seized, even in his children's name. So what does that tell you? He's already in prison. They're going after his family. His family is part of this investigation, and this is very, very bad news for Maru Campos, because Maru Campos was supposed to protect Cesar Duarte and and his family, which is not happening now. And also Cesar Haragi, the Attorney General for Chihuahua, and the North Zone prosecutor, Carlos Manuel Salas. This is a real hit on all of them, that they are going after Cesar Duarte's family. There's a lot of information and all of that. And I thought that was very, very important news to share. And I'm glad I remembered to do it. So, yeah, that's huge news. So there's the Ted Lion Ted. Uh, President Trump is just turning out to be very, very right. And of course, here, oh, yeah, and I forgot to tell you about this. So you've got Cesar Duarte right here, and I didn't put his family up, but I should. But I put Cesar Duarte Fong, right, with the arrow, because his wife is the Fong, is the Chinese connection, is the connection to well, she's in big trouble. She's in big trouble. It's not a coincidence with Lilani Hart and Hema Cuellar Ruggiero. That's none of that. But here is a big part that people also, because it was not widely um, shared on the media, but there was not too long ago in 25, believe it or not, an agreement, a narco security treaty that was made between Maru Campos and Governor Greg Abbott. What does that tell you about Greg Abbott? What the heck? What the heck? It tells you that he's compromised, that he is very compromised. And we've been telling you that he's compromised. And this is a good proof that he's dirty, that he's absolutely dirty. Because number one, he is the governor of Texas. Okay. She is the governor of Chihuahua. They can't get into a narco security treaty for the border. That's not their place to do that. I'm sure that President Scheinbaum was very upset, and that our federal government was very upset when they saw this narco security treaty for this border, because what it was doing, what they agreed upon was to, join Ted Cruz in protecting the flesh peddlers, the human flesh eaters, consumers, the traffickers, the organ harvester, and the baby um, illegal C-sections, and then all the adoptions into the United States, illegal adoptions, everything, all of the Jeffrey Epstein horrors, the whole kit and caboodle. That's what they're protecting. And so I thought this picture of Cesar Haragi and Carlos Manuel Salas was just like right on. And I just, they're cartel. They're cartel. And I uh, probably should paste right over this head too, that he's, is he Mormon faction cartel? Is he the Texas cartel? You know, really. And so here's the raid. Here's Parral. Okay. This is Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua. This is Texas. Here's where the Mormon faction colonies are. And this is the way in to El Paso. So they're just protecting this ahead of what President Trump's very strategic operations are. And I don't think they're working. I think that this is a real hit on Maru Campos. And don't forget her mother, and that they are absolutely responsible for what happened with Plenitude Crematorium, because her mother was in charge of the oversight for these crematoriums, and she allowed that crematorium to operate without a license, without a permit, without being inspected. And you know why? Because this property is owned by Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Caron. That's probably her good buddy. They're probably they probably spent the night with each other years ago, had their little slumber parties. They probably, meet every so often for fine dining at what is that? Cafe Central, where her son owned, a chunk of Central, and she owns that, and the condo still, and um, so they were absolutely operating the narco crematorium. And there is more to it because there's orphanages involved in all of this. There's shelters that are involved in all of this. There is just the medical side of all of this. Um, it is really demonic. It is very satanic um, when you l- put it all together. And it's these, and then they call themselves, um, what do they call themselves again? Oh my gosh, the philanthropists. Oh, we're philanthropists. Everybody, you gotta love us. We're philanthropists. Yes, we own Plenitude Narco Crematorium and stack bodies up in flesh petal and, in the worst conditions. But we're philanthropists, right? Give us your taxpayer money. We'll give it, or we'll send little Linnea after you. This is, they're just absolutely demonic people. It's just, and I don't even know, President Trump calls them monsters. I think he's right. I think he's right. And then here's another monster, A.G. Balderas from New Mexico, who, has, and I want to say thank you so much to Valerie, because Valerie posted up this, and I put the link up here, her article on this dude and his lying lips. And I just thought it was very, very good, and just did like a little summary here of it. That he absolutely, there was no reason why he could not continue inspecting and investigating Zorro Ranch and everything that was going on there, which means, investigating Jeffrey Epstein. Um, no federal inspection told him to stop. He has every right to do that as the Attorney General, and the duty to do that as the Attorney General. And he chose not to raid Zorro Ranch, not to inspect it, not to investigate what was going on there for years and years and years. And so he really is a liar. He's doing some damage control right now. I wonder if he's the brother of Lion Ted. Maybe they're related. I should probably put their faces through the facial recognition and see if they are related, because they're both lying, right? They're both liars. So yeah, so I think that will cover. Gosh, wasn't that a lot? Um, and of course, yesterday was huge. This is, signs of torture, and we have more pictures. And of course, these are the flesh peddlers that want to go fine dine at Cafe Central. And this is Raphael's, I think they're divorced now, but she runs or a part of it, City Magazine. She's a big part of City Magazine. And we have some history with that also. So yeah, this is just a lot of information, and I hope that those help. We appreciate your comments to make it better, and we really, really appreciate all your sharing, because your sharing is what is driving all of these raids, because we have been filing everything. And because of your support and us filing, you're seeing a lot of action out there because we are a government by the people, for the people, of the people. And our government cannot be trusted to do it alone. They cannot be trusted. They're corrupt, they're compromised. And so we have to drive them to do it. So we are truly a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So thank you so much. And our goal is, of course, um, to get accountability, to get them, even in Mexico, to do their job. Hopefully, Carlos Manuel Salas is out. Hopefully, Cesar Hargi is out. We need real prosecutors in there to get our son's remains from the Plenitude Crematorium. They are just being cover up. They're just playing numbers games, delay games. And so that's why all of this is very, very important. And they're also in uh, alliance with the Juarez cartel, the Mexican cartels, Juarez cartel, La Linea, and that. And so Trump has his eye on La Linea, which is the branch that is a dual citizen that comes from the Nove Casagrande area, which shares a bloodline with the Mormon faction. And that should tell people everything right there. It should tell because they can cross that border, they can do their evil deeds across the border. And now you know how Connell Wetton got into the FBI. Now you know how um, it's is it weird to say that the commanding general for Fort Bliss right now, his name is Taylor, Curtis Taylor? Taylor is one of those few names, you know, and then you have the special agent in charge of the FBI office, Jared Brown, the Winton Browns and Taylors, Romneys. These are the names of that of the founders, the colonists that settled in that area, and the Labarons, right? The Labarons, and they were in 2019. The mother comes out of her car, don't shoot, because they're being shot at, and she gets shot. She gets shot and killed. Many children, many women, because they're thinking they're protected from that area, and there's a lot of history there that has come out. Um, so this is absolutely a cross-border um, cartel issue that they have infiltrated both in Mexico, especially in Chihuahua. Chihuahua is a narco state. Mexico's a narco state, and into the United States. Und wie would my oma say, and how they really have infiltrated into our military, into our law enforcement, into our intelligence, into like Fort Huachuca, right? Fort Bliss, into our court system. And they this is why we have the Uvaldis. This is why we have um the Walmart mass shooting. This is why we have our son's case where a US Army soldier whistleblower is not even safe in his barracks room, not even safe in the barracks, not even safe on a military installation. His body gets stolen off of the military installation and trafficked to Mexico. This is why, okay? Because they don't have loyalty to the United States, to the uniform, to the oath. They don't have loyalty to Mexico at all. So this is how this happens, and this is what we need to expose so that we can drive changes and we can get accountability then. Thank you so much, and bring our son's remains home. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I think um, thank you so much, Laura, for all your work. Oh my gosh. This is just the translating is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Um, Let me see. Yes, they are monsters. Yes. And Lilinea, yes. Absolutely. That's why you're so want you understand things. Okay, thank you so much. God bless you.